It's me.
I was already waiting for that spot. You're too slow. Move. People like you think rules don't apply.
I got a call from my 75-year-old mother, crying. An HOA president had just slapped her across the face in the grocery store over a parking spot dispute. I rushed to the store. Security footage showed everything. The slap, my mother stumbling backward, Karen walking away smiling. What Karen didn't know, I'm the chief of police for this city, and battery on an elderly person is a felony. I called my officers. They arrested her in aisle 6. Here's what happened. Let me tell you about my mom first, because she's important to this story. Patricia Henderson is 75, stands about 5'3", and weighs maybe 120 pounds. She keeps her silver hair in a neat bob and is the sweetest person you'll ever meet. Every Thursday, she volunteers at our church food pantry. Every Sunday, she hosts a family dinner. She still sends handwritten birthday cards to all 17 grandkids and great-grandkids. After my dad passed 5 years back, I moved her into a nice senior apartment closer to me. Nothing fancy, but safe and comfortable. She's independent, does her own shopping, drives herself around, and goes to her book club meetings. She raised me to be strong, and she practiced what she preached. Even at 75, Mom doesn't ask for help unless she really needs it. That's why hearing her cry like that scared me more than anything I'd faced in 26 years as a police officer. I've been chief of police for 3 years now. Before that, I spent 2 decades working my way up from patrol officer to detective to captain. I have handled armed robberies, domestic violence calls, and even talked down a guy threatening to jump off a bridge. I've seen things that would keep most people up at night, but in all those years, nothing hit me harder than that phone call from my mom. What happened? I asked, keeping my voice steady even though my hands were shaking. Who hit you? This woman, she just... We both wanted the same parking space, and she got so angry. Mom's voice cracked. I tried to apologize, tried to explain that I didn't see her, but she just hauled off and slapped me across the face, hard. Then she told me to learn some manners, and walked away laughing. This person hit my elderly mother, and then laughed about it. Is she still there? Can you see her? I think so. I'm sitting by the customer service desk. People are staring at me. Mike, I'm so embarrassed. Don't you dare be embarrassed. You did nothing wrong. Stay right there. Lock your car doors if you go outside. I'm coming now. I hung up and immediately radioed my dispatcher. This is Chief Henderson. I've got a situation at Save Mart on Riverside. Personal matter, but I may need backup. Keep units available in that area. Then I got in my car and drove faster than I probably should have. My mom needed me. I made it to Save Mart in under 5 minutes. I parked near the entrance, took one deep breath to compose myself, and walked inside with my badge clipped to my belt, where it was visible. I needed to be professional about this, even though every instinct in my body wanted to find whoever did this, and well, let's just say my training kicked in. I spotted Mom right away. She was sitting on a bench near the customer service counter, pressing a damp paper towel against her left cheek. A young store clerk, maybe 19 or 20, was standing beside her with a concerned look on her face. Mom, I said, kneeling down in front of her. When she moved the paper towel away, I felt sick. Her cheek was bright red and already starting to swell. You could see the clear outline of 4 fingers where someone had struck her. This wasn't a little tap. Somebody had really wound up and hit her with force. Mom's eyes welled up when she saw me. I'm sorry to pull you away from work, sweetheart. Stop. Don't apologize. I took her hand gently. Let me look at your face. I examined her cheek carefully. It was going to bruise badly. Probably hurt for days. The thought of someone doing this to her made my blood boil, but I forced myself to stay calm and focused. I looked up at the store clerk. Did you see what happened? She shook her head. No, sir. But I heard the yelling and came over after. Some of the other customers told me what went down. And I know who did it. Everyone here knows Karen Morrison. Karen Morrison, I repeated, pulling out my phone to make notes. Is she a regular here? Oh yeah. She comes in here all the time and treats everyone like garbage. She yells at cashiers, complains about everything, and demands to speak to managers. She's the president of that fancy HOA over in Willow Creek. I knew exactly which neighborhood she meant. Willow Creek Estates, big houses, manicured lawns, residents who thought their property values made them better than everyone else. I'd responded to calls there before. Noise complaints, arguments over fence heights and paint colors. Petty stuff that shouldn't require police involvement, but somehow always did. But this wasn't petty. This was an assault. Is she still in the store? I asked. The clerk nodded. Last I saw, she was over in the frozen food section, acting as if nothing had happened. I turned back to Mom. Okay, tell me everything. Start from when you pulled into the parking lot now. Before Mom tells me her side of the story, let me tell you something about Karen Morrison. This woman was about to have the worst day of her entire life, because while she was shopping for her organic frozen vegetables, completely oblivious, I was gathering evidence for a felony charge, and security cameras in that parking lot had recorded everything. Stay with me, because this gets good. Mom took a shaky breath and started explaining what had happened. I drove into the parking lot looking for a spot close to the entrance. You know, my knee's been bothering me since that fall last month, so I didn't want to park way out back. I saw someone pulling out of a spot in the second row, right near the handicapped spaces. I put on my turn signal and waited for them to back out. Okay, I said, still taking notes. Then what? Well, another car came from the opposite direction, a big black SUV. One of those expensive ones. The person in that car apparently wanted the same spot, but I was already there waiting with my signal on. The car backing out even waved at me like they saw me waiting. So when they left, I pulled forward to take the spot. That's completely normal, Mom. You had every right to that space. That's what I thought. But this woman in the SUV lay on her horn, loud, long, like she was trying to wake up the whole parking lot. Then she rolled down her window and started screaming at me. Called me a mom. Paused, looking uncomfortable. Well, she used some very unpleasant words. Said I cut her off. Said I was a senile old woman who shouldn't be driving. I felt my jaw clench, but stayed quiet, letting her continue. I rolled down my window and tried to explain that I'd been waiting there first, that I had my signal on. I was very polite about it. Mike, you know I don't like confrontation. But she just got angrier. She pulled into the spot next to mine, nearly hit my car, doing it, then jumped out and marched right over to my driver's side window. Did she threaten you? I asked. She was yelling about how people like me need to learn respect. How I was everything wrong with society. How dare I take her parking spot? I told her I was sorry if there was a misunderstanding, that it wasn't worth fighting over, and that I'd be happy to move if it meant that much to her. I was trying to de-escalate, you know? Like you always taught me. I smiled sadly. Even in her 70s, my mom remembered the conflict resolution talks I'd given her over the years. But that just seemed to make her madder, Mom continued, her voice dropping. She reached right through my car window, grabbed my shoulder, and said, "You need to learn your place." Then she slapped me, hard, across my left cheek. I was so shocked I didn't even know what to do. Did anyone else see this happen? Oh yes. There were people walking by, loading groceries, getting into their cars. I saw at least 3 or 4 people stop and stare. One man even started walking toward us like he was going to help, but Karen just turned and walked away before he got there. Walked right into the store as if nothing had happened. And that's when you called me. Mom nodded, her eyes filling with tears again. My face was stinging so bad, Mike, and I just felt so violated. I'm 75 years old. I've never been hit in my entire life, not even as a child. I didn't know what to do, so I called you. I know you're busy, but stop right there. I squeezed her hand. You did exactly the right thing. This woman committed a crime, Mom, battery, and because you're over 65, it's actually a felony in this state. She's not going to get away with this. I helped Mom to her feet. Come with me. We're going to talk to the store manager. The young clerk who'd been helping her name tag said Jessica, pointed toward the back offices. Manager's name is Dennis. He's probably in his office. Want me to take you back there? Please. We walked through the store with Jessica leading the way. I kept one arm around Mom's shoulders, both to comfort her and to help steady her. She was still shaking. Dennis turned out to be a middle-aged guy, with a receding hairline and a tired expression that probably came from dealing with difficult customers all day. When Jessica explained why we were there, his eyes widened. Chief Henderson, I didn't realize that was your mother. Ma'am, I'm so sorry this happened in our store. It happened in your parking lot, I corrected. Which means you've got security footage of the whole thing. I need to see it. Of course. Right this way. He led us into a small security office, where monitors showed live feeds from cameras all over the store and parking lot. He sat down at the computer and started pulling up recorded footage. What time did this happen? He asked. Around 2:35, Mom said. Dennis typed in the timestamp and pulled up the parking lot cameras. Okay, let's see. Here. Camera 4 covers that section. We watched the screen. There was Mom's car, a light blue Honda Civic waiting with the turn signal blinking. A car backed out of the space. Mom started to pull forward, and then, from the opposite direction, a black Range Rover came speeding into the frame and stopped, blocking the spot. That's her, Mom said quietly. That's Karen's car. We watched as the scene unfolded exactly how Mom had described it. You could see Karen lean on her horn, see her shouting through her windshield even though the audio didn't pick it up. Then Mom pulled into the parking space, and Karen whipped her SUV into the adjacent spot so aggressively it looked like she might hit Mom's car. Can you zoom in? I asked. Dennis adjusted the camera angle and zoomed in on the driver's side of Mom's Honda. The footage was crystal clear, better than I'd expected from a grocery store parking lot camera. You could see Karen approach Mom's window, see her pointing and yelling, see her reach through the window. And then it happened, clear as day. Karen's right hand came up and struck Mom across the face with an open palm. The force of it made Mom's head snap to the right. You could see her flinch, see the shock on her face. And then Karen just walked away, actually turned around and walked toward the store entrance while Mom sat there holding her face. Can you save that footage for me? I asked Dennis, my voice tight. I'm going to need it as evidence. Absolutely. I'll make you a copy right now. Do you need a USB drive? Or should I email it? Both. Send it to my work email, the department address, and put a copy on a drive. I want redundancy on this. While Dennis worked on copying the footage, I pulled out my phone and called dispatch. This is Chief Henderson. I need 2 patrol units at Save Mart on Riverside. We've got a battery suspect still on the premises. Female, late 40s to early 50s, black Range Rover in the parking lot. My name is Karen Morrison, a resident of Willow Creek Estates. Send officers to my location and have them stand by for my signal. Copy that, Chief. Units are en route. I looked at Mom. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to find Karen Morrison and place her under arrest for battery on an elderly person. You're going to give a statement to one of my officers. Then we're going to take you to get checked out by a paramedic, just to document your injuries. Mike, I don't want to cause a big scene. Mom, I bent down, so I was eye level with her. This woman assaulted you. That's not okay. It's not something we're going to let slide. She doesn't get to hit people and walk away. That's not how the law works, and it's definitely not how my mother gets treated. Understood? Mom nodded, a small smile finally appearing on her face. Okay, so picture this. Karen Morrison is shopping for her groceries, probably picking out expensive organic produce and judging everyone around her, completely unaware that the police chief himself is about to arrest her for slapping his mother. She's about to learn that actions have consequences. Some consequences come with handcuffs. Here's what happened next. I left Mom in the security office with Dennis and Jessica, who promised to stay with her until the patrol officers arrived. Then I walked back out into the store to find Karen Morrison. It wasn't hard to spot her. She was exactly where Jessica said she'd be, in the frozen foods section, studying ice cream flavors like she was choosing fine wine. She was dressed in expensive-looking athletic wear, the kind that costs $200, but she had never seen a gym. Her hair was perfectly styled. Her nails were perfectly manicured. She looked like someone who'd never faced a consequence in her entire privileged life. That was about to change. I approached her calmly, my badge clearly visible on my belt. Karen Morrison. She looked up from the freezer case, her expression already annoyed before she even saw who was talking to her. When she noticed my badge, her expression shifted not to concern, but to that entitled indignation some people get when they think rules don't apply to them. Yes. Can I help you, officer? She emphasized the word officer, like it was beneath her to even acknowledge. I'm Chief Henderson, with the City Police Department. I need you to come with me, please. She actually rolled her eyes. Come with you where? I'm shopping. Is there some kind of problem? Yes, ma'am. There is a problem. About 20 minutes ago in this store's parking lot, you struck another customer across the face during a dispute over a parking space. That customer has filed a complaint, and I have security footage of the incident. I'm placing you under arrest for battery. For a moment, Karen just stared at me like I'd spoken a foreign language. Then she laughed. Actually laughed. Are you serious right now? That crazy old woman called the police. Over a little tap. She was being completely unreasonable, and I barely touched her. Ma'am, we have video evidence showing you striking her with significant force. Battery on an elderly person, which is anyone over the age of 65, is a felony in this state. A felony. Karen's voice went up an octave. That's absolutely ridiculous. Do you know who I am? I'm the president of Willow Creek, HOA. I know the mayor. I know the city council members. One phone call and nothing. I interrupted. I don't care who you know or what neighborhood you live in. You committed a crime, and you're under arrest. Now, you can cooperate and come with me peacefully, or I can have my officers escort you out of here in handcuffs in front of all these shoppers. Your choice. Karen looked around, apparently just now realizing that people were watching our conversation. Several shoppers had stopped to stare. A couple were even recording on their phones. This is harassment, she hissed. I want your badge number. I'm going to report you for. My badge number is 001 because I'm the chief. And you're under arrest. Turn around and place your hands behind your back. You can't be serious. But I was completely serious. I pulled out my handcuff. Sai always kept a pair on me even in my role as chief, and stepped behind her. Karen Morrison, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. Karen started protesting loudly as I cuffed her, creating exactly the scene she'd been worried about moments earlier. This is insane. Police brutality. Someone call my lawyer. This man is assaulting me. I stayed calm and professional, even as she twisted and pulled against the handcuffs. Ma'am, you're making this harder than it needs to be. I'm arresting you for a crime you committed. There's video evidence. Please stop resisting. 2 of my patrol officers, Martinez and Thompson, both good cops I'd worked with for years, peered at the end of the aisle. They'd gotten there faster than I expected, Chief. Martinez said, quickly assessing the situation. Officers, please take Ms. Morrison to your cruiser and transport her to the station for booking. The charge is felony battery on an elderly person. I have video evidence in the manager's office that you'll need to collect as well. Yes, sir. Officer Thompson took control of Karen while I stepped back. She was still protesting, still threatening lawsuits and political connections, still insisting this was all a misunderstanding. The victim is my mother, I said quietly, just loud enough for Karen to hear. She froze, actually stopped mid-sentence and turned to look at me with wide eyes. For the first time since I'd approached her, she seemed to realize the magnitude of what she'd done. Your mother? Patricia Henderson, 75 years old, the woman you slapped in the parking lot. My mother. All the color drained from Karen's face. I didn't know. Wouldn't have mattered if you did. A battery is a battery, regardless of who the victim is related to. But maybe now you understand why I'm taking this personally. Officers, get her out of here. As Martinez and Thompson walked Karen toward the exit, with her still sputtering excuses and threats, I heard applause. Actual applause. I turned around and saw that at least a dozen shoppers had gathered to watch the arrest, and several of them were clapping. An elderly man stepped forward. Good for you, Chief. I saw what happened in the parking lot. That woman's been terrorizing this store for years. It's about time someone held her accountable. A middle-aged woman nodded emphatically. She screamed at my daughter last month when she was working the register. Made her cry. Said she was too stupid to scan groceries correctly. Management didn't do anything about it. More people chimed in with their own Karen Morrison horror stories. Apparently, she'd been making life miserable for the staff and customers at this Save Mart for a long time. What she did to my mother was just the latest in a long line of entitled, aggressive behavior. I thanked everyone for their support and made my way back to the security office, where Mom was giving her statement to another officer. She looked up when I walked in, her eyes questioning. It's done, I said. She's been arrested and is on her way to the station. Mom let out a long breath she seemed to have been holding. Thank you, sweetheart. Now, you might think that's where the story ends. Entitled HOA President Gets Arrested. Justice is served. Everyone goes home. But remember what I said earlier. Karen Morrison knew the mayor. She knew city council members. She thought her connections would get her out of this. She was about to learn that some things can't be fixed with a phone call. Over the next few hours, I made sure everything was documented properly. Mom gave a complete statement. We took photos of her bruised cheek from multiple angles. A paramedic examined her and documented the injury, minor soft tissue trauma, but painful and visible. I personally delivered the security footage to our evidence department with a full chain of custody documented. By the time I got Mom home and settled with an ice pack and her favorite tea, it was after 6 p.m. My phone had been blowing up all afternoon. Messages from the mayor's office, from a city councilwoman, from Karen Morrison's lawyer, all wanting to talk about the situation. I ignored them all until Mom was comfortable and my sister arrived to stay with her for the evening. Then I sat down and started returning calls. The first was to Karen's lawyer, a guy named Richard Pemberton, whom I'd dealt with before on other cases. He was smooth, expensive, and used to getting his clients out of trouble. Chief Henderson, thank you for calling me back. I've been trying to reach you all afternoon. I think there's been a terrible misunderstanding. There's been no misunderstanding, Richard. Your client assaulted my mother in a parking lot. We have video evidence, eyewitness testimony, and documented injuries. She's being charged with felony battery on an elderly person. Now, Chief, let's be reasonable here. My client has no prior criminal record. She's a respected member of the community. This was a simple dispute that got out of hand. I'm sure we can work something out, drop the charges. And Mrs. Morrison would be willing to apologize, and perhaps even provide some compensation for your mother's emotional distress. I laughed. Actually laughed. Richard, are you seriously trying to negotiate this away right now? Your client committed a felony. There's video evidence. This is going to the district attorney, and they're going to prosecute. There is no deal. The mayor is very concerned about this situation. The mayor can be as concerned as he wants. The law applies equally to everyone, including HOA presidents who think they're above it. Your client will be arraigned tomorrow morning. She can post bail then, if the judge allows it. Goodbye, Richard. I hung up before he could argue further. The next call was to the mayor himself. Mayor Patterson had been in office for 6 years, and we'd always had a good working relationship. But I could tell from his tone that someone had gotten to him. Mike, what's this? I'm hearing about you arresting Karen Morrison in a grocery store. I arrested her because she committed felony battery on an elderly victim. That victim happened to be my mother. There was a long pause. Your mother? Yes, sir. Mrs. Morrison struck my 75-year-old mother across the face during an argument over a parking space. We have clear video evidence. I responded as both a son and a police officer. The arrest was completely by the book. I see. His tone softened considerably. I wasn't aware of all the details. Karen's husband called me, saying she'd been unfairly targeted by the police. He made it sound like a personal vendetta. It's not a vendetta. It's law enforcement. If anyone else had assaulted an elderly person, they'd be arrested too. Mrs. Morrison doesn't get special treatment because she knows people. Of course not. Of course not. Mike, I'm sorry about your mother. Is she okay? She's bruised and shaken up, but she'll recover. Physically, anyway. The emotional impact of being assaulted in public is going to take longer to heal. Keep me updated on the case, and if you need anything, let me know. After I hung up with the mayor, I finally allowed myself to relax a little. The case was solid. Karen Morrison was going to face the consequences of her actions, and Mom was safe at home with family around her. Karen Morrison was arraigned the next morning. I wasn't there personally. I had other duties to attend to, but I got the report from the assistant DA handling the case, Sarah Chen. Sarah was sharp, thorough, and didn't take nonsense from anyone. How did it go? I asked when she called me around noon. About how you'd expect. Her lawyer asked for the charges to be dismissed. The judge looked at the video evidence and denied the motion. Set bail at $25,000, which she posted immediately. Pretrial is set for next month. Did she say anything? Oh yes. She gave a whole speech about how this was a minor misunderstanding, being blown out of proportion, how she's never been in trouble before, and how she's a pillar of the community. Her lawyer tried to paint your mother as the aggressor. Can you believe that? I sighed. Actually, yes. I can believe that. Well, the judge wasn't buying it. He watched the video 3 times. Saw your mother waiting patiently. Saw Morrison's aggressive parking. Saw the whole confrontation. Saw that slap. He told Mrs. Morrison that battery on an elderly person is a serious charge, and she should consider herself lucky she's not being held without bail. Good. Over the following weeks, Karen's lawyer tried every trick in the book. He filed motions to suppress the video. Evidence denied. He tried to get the charges reduced to a misdemeanor. He argued that my involvement in the case created a conflict of interest. The DA's office assigned Sarah specifically because I recused myself from any direct involvement beyond the initial arrest. So that was denied, too. Finally, 2 weeks before the trial was set to begin, Richard Pemberton called Sarah with a plea offer. Karen Morrison would plead no contest to misdemeanor battery, not on an elderly person, accept probation, pay a fine, and attend anger management classes. Sarah called me before responding. What do you think? It's your mother's case ultimately. What does Mom say? I talked to her yesterday. She said she just wants it to be over. She doesn't want to go through a trial, doesn't want to sit in a courtroom while a lawyer attacks her character. She's tired, Mike. I understood. Mom wasn't the type to seek revenge or drag things out. She just wanted to feel safe again. Counteroffer, I said. Misdemeanor battery, 2 years probation. $5,000 fine, paid directly to Mom for her medical expenses and pain and suffering. 100 hours of community service, mandatory anger management classes, and a written apology delivered to Mom in person. If Morrison violates any term of her probation, the original felony charge gets refiled. Take it or leave it. Sarah was quiet for a moment. That's a lot. She hit my mother. It's not nearly enough, but it's what Mom can live with. 2 days later, Richard Pemberton accepted the deal, so Karen Morrison took the plea deal, which meant she avoided trial. But remember that part about the written apology delivered in person. That's where things got interesting one last time. Because Karen Morrison, even facing probation and community service, still couldn't quite let go of her entitled attitude. The apology was scheduled for a Friday afternoon at my house. My sister, my daughter, and I were all there with Mom for support. Sarah Chen came too, just to make sure the terms of the plea deal were fulfilled properly. Karen Morrison arrived 15 minutes late. Driving her black Range Rover, She was dressed in a navy blue suit if she were going to a business meeting, not apologizing for assaulting someone. Her lawyer wasn't with her. This was something she had to do alone. I answered the door when she knocked. For a moment, we just looked at each other. "Chief Henderson," she said stiffly. "Mrs. Morrison, come in." She followed me into the living room, where Mom was sitting in her favorite chair. The bruise on Mom's face had faded to a yellowish green, but it was still visible. Karen's eyes flickered to it and quickly away. "Mrs. Henderson," Karen began, pulling a folded piece of paper from her purse. "I've prepared a written apology as required by the court." She started to hand it to Mom, but I held up a hand. "You're going to read it out loud," I said. "That's what delivered in person means." Karen's jaw tightened, but she nodded. She unfolded the paper and began reading in a flat, emotionless voice. "Dear Mrs. Henderson, I sincerely apologize for my actions on the afternoon of Stop," Mom interrupted quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. Mom stood up slowly, using the arm of her chair for support, and walked over to face Karen directly. Even though Mom was smaller and older, she somehow seemed to tower over Karen in that moment. "I don't want to hear an apology you don't mean," Mom said. "I can tell from your voice you're just reading words someone else wrote. So let me tell you what I want to hear instead." Karen looked uncomfortable, but stayed quiet. "I want to hear why," Mom continued. "Why did you hit me? What about a parking space dispute made you think it was okay to put your hands on another person? What was going through your head?" For a long moment, Karen just stood there. Then, surprisingly, her composure cracked a little, her shoulders slumped. "I don't know," she said quietly. "I was having a terrible day. Everything was going wrong. And when you took that parking spot, I just snapped. I'm not saying that excuses what I did. It doesn't. But you asked why, and that's the truth. I was angry at everything, and you were there, and I took it out on you." "Have you ever hit anyone else?" Mom asked. "No, never." "Do you understand what you did to me? Not just physically, but emotionally. I'm 75 years old, and I'd never been struck by another person in my entire life. You made me afraid to go shopping, afraid to park my car, afraid of strangers. You changed how I see the world, and I hate that." Karen's eyes were shiny now, whether they were tears of genuine remorse or tears of embarrassment at being called out. I couldn't tell. Maybe both. "I'm sorry," Karen said, and this time her voice sounded genuine. "I really am sorry, Mrs. Henderson. What I did was wrong. It was cruel, and you didn't deserve it." Mom studied her for a long moment, then nodded. "Okay, I accept your apology. Now read your prepared statement for the record. And then I think we're done here." Karen read through the formal apology, her voice steadier than before. When she finished, Sarah Chen noted the time and date in her files, marking the requirement as fulfilled. As Karen was leaving, she paused at the door and looked back at Mom. "For what it's worth," she said, "I'm glad your son is the chief. If he wasn't, I probably would have gotten away with this. I probably would have done it to someone else eventually. So, thank you for holding me accountable." Then she left. That was 3 months ago now. Karen Morrison completed her anger management classes and is working through her community service hours. According to Sarah, she's been compliant with all the terms of her probation. Whether she's actually learned anything, or is just checking boxes to avoid jail time, I honestly don't know. What I do know is that Mom is doing better. She still goes to her book club, still volunteers at the food pantry, and still hosts Sunday dinners. She parks wherever there's a spot available, and doesn't think twice about it anymore. The fear she felt after the attack has faded, replaced by the resilience I've always known she had. The day after that apology meeting, Mom called me. "You know what I realized?" she said. "I felt sorry for her, for Karen." Yes. Can you imagine being so angry all the time that you lash out at strangers over parking spaces? What kind of life is that? I'd rather be happy and hurt than miserable and cruel. That's my mom, 75 years old, assaulted by a stranger, and still finding compassion in her heart. As for me, I learned something too. I've been in law enforcement for over 2 decades. I've arrested hundreds of people. I've handled cases ranging from petty theft to murder. But nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared me for the feeling of seeing my own mother hurt and having to switch into cop mode instead of just being her son.